Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first ever installment of Extra Bases on Anchor TV. My name's David Cusack, here with Josh Percy to debate 5 hot sports topics of the week.
First topic of the day is going to be the Boston Red Sox rotation. So, the first thing we wanted to talk about is what we expect to see from each starting pitcher. So, David?
Now, David Price, as we've seen,
Yes.
has come on. He came out 10 strikeouts in the first matchup against the Indians, and that was impressive. Clay Buchholz last night, not so impressive. He got rocked and really relied on the offense to kind of come in and bail him out and kind of, make the game close again until they ultimately lost in the 7th inning. Now, David Price at the beginning of the rotation, I think, is one of the best free agent acquisitions, that any team has made in this offseason. I think Buchholz has been inconsistent over the past couple of years. I think he's shown sparks of greatness, but he really, really can't consistently bring it night in and night out, and you don't know what you're going to get from him. He's either going to, put up 10 strikeouts, or he's going to get rocked for 7 runs in the 5th inning, and you just don't know what to expect. Going further down the rotation, you have Kelly, and I don't know. I don't know about him.
Well, I
don't know about Kelly or Porcello, but
I have a very good prediction here, and you're probably going to disagree with me, but I think Joe Kelly is going to be the number 2 pitcher on this roster. I think he's going to have a bounce back season. I think he's going to put up 150 innings at least. He's going to have a solid season. He may get injured. I mean, a lot of players can't avoid injury, but I see him. I mean, if he gets a below 3.5 ERA, at least 10 wins, I think that's a number 2 pitcher right there for the Red Sox.
But do you see more potential in Joe Kelly going forward than Rick Porcello?
Yes.
Why?
I just think so. The streak that Joe Kelly went on to end the season last year was better than Rick Porcello's. That's all I have to say.
But Rick Porcello's improvement, I think, was a greater improvement from where he was at the beginning of last season to the end of last season. And I think Rick Porcello is only going to be trending upwards. I think Joe Kelly is where he was last season. That's optimistic for him, and I think if he can maintain that, that's good. But I think Rick Porcello has a higher potential ceiling. Now, I think Stephen Wright at the 5 starter has anyone on this roster the highest potential ceiling. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be at the end of the year moved up to 2 starter or 3 starter, but I think of anyone in the rotation, he has the highest ceiling and the highest ability to improve and move himself up in that rotation. I don't know what you think about Stephen Wright, but
well, I have a very small difference. I think he's going to have a very good season. He's a knuckleball pitcher, so he may get rocked some games, and he may have a great game. I don't see him starting as many games as you think he's going to. I see him starting maybe 10, 15 games this season. He started about 10 last season.
But you don't think they're going to keep him in there?
I think they will. They'll probably rotate him out with the injuries to Buchholz most likely. Maybe Joe Kelly. I think he's going to be a very good 6th starter who can plug in for maybe there's a double header and he needs to be plugged in. But I think that we're leaving somebody off this roster to be a debate that is currently injured. Eduardo Rodriguez.
But that's the thing. I think Stephen Wright is going to secure that job and secure that starting job. Look, Eduardo Rodriguez, he has the potential to be great as well, but I think Stephen Wright really can step up in that role of the 5 starter and really secure his place as someone who should be in the starting rotation.
I agree, and I don't think he's going to lose his roster spot to Eduardo Rodriguez coming back. I think it's going to be Buchholz. Buchholz will lose his starting spot to Eduardo Rodriguez.
You can't predict a Buchholz injury. And
come on, don't even start. Buchholz gets injured every season. It's been a mathematical fact. He is going to get injured
what if
at
he
some
doesn't?
point.
What if he doesn't and Eduardo Rodriguez comes back up the DL and you have a dilemma?
You start him over Buchholz because Buchholz got rocked.
I disagree. That was 1 start.
You have to give Eduardo Rodriguez his chance because he pitched 20 games last season and he was one of the best pitchers on the team and he was a rookie. So you got to give him his chance to prove himself. Just like I'm very upset that they didn't give Henry Owens a spot on this roster to prove himself while you have him injured and maybe go the 6-man rotation to start the season.
Look, they have a lot of young talent. Believe me, they have a lot of young talent. And you're right. Eduardo Rodriguez does deserve a role. However, there's only 5 starters. Now, I think you put Eduardo Rodriguez in more of a long relief role and keep Stephen Wright in the starting rotation, and barring anything happening to Buchholz, which, granted, he could get injured. He is injury prone. But you don't know what's going to happen to him.
I'm not saying that it's going to be him exactly.
And you don't even know if he's going to be there at the trade deadline. Do you think Buchholz is even going to be there at the trade deadline?
Well, if he keeps getting rocked, if he's not good enough, he's not going to be traded. That's the issue. They should have traded him 2 seasons ago when the ceiling was high.
Well, they still had value for him at that point.
It's a give and take. I think that Eduardo Rodriguez and Stephen Wright's going to be those 2 players that may fill in for an injury to any pitcher, and then we'll probably go to that long reliever role, most likely. One of the two. It depends on who has a better start to the season. You have to give Eduardo Rodriguez his chance. Now, the one key question I have to ask you is, what amount of wins do you think Price will give up the team?
Price, I think he's going to get 15 wins.
What's his ceiling?
I think his ceiling, he could be a 20-game winner, but I think he's going to get 15.
I put him between 15 and 18.
All right, well, that will wrap up our first topic. On to topic number 2, the Bruins' playoff hopes. In the last 5 games, the Bruins are 2-2-1. They're facing the Detroit Red Wings, and Detroit is 4-1-0 in the last 5 games. What do you think? Do you think the Bruins are going to make the playoffs, and how far do you think they can go?
Well, I did believe maybe 2 weeks ago that I thought they were going to have a very good chance to make the playoffs. I'm scared right now. I'm a pretty big Bruins fan. I'm following them very closely. But the one key thing that I want to talk about with hockey is that head-to-head matchups are very important. And the Red Wings-Bruins rivalry goes back multiple seasons. They've been having great games. And the Bruins this season have played very well against them. And their upcoming game, I believe it's tonight, correct? It's tonight. It's April 7th. And I would like to see that. I think the Bruins win tonight. I think they win out the season. They have a very good matchup against the Red Wings and the Senators. But you also have to take into effect the Red Wings schedules and the Flyers schedule. And I think that the Bruins have a more favorable schedule than the Flyers and the Red Wings.
See, I don't see the Bruins really making the playoffs at this point. I think they've been on too much of a slide, and I don't think they have the ability to gain momentum and recover. Now, that overtime loss in Carolina, in Boston to Carolina, that loss in a shootout, that hurt. Now, they deserve 2 points in that game, and they only came away with 1. And yes, they came away with a point, but that still hurts. I think the Bruins, even if they do make the playoffs, who are they going to be facing off with? Tampa Bay at this point?
I agree with you. They're not going to win the series.
I don't think they have, especially on the defensive side of the puck, I don't think they have the ability to contend with someone like Tampa Bay. I think, yes, offensively they can put up goals when they need to put up goals, but I just think they're a defensively weak team, and that's something they're going to need to improve next season. Look, they're not a cup contender this season.
I agree with you. They're not.
And it's a shame to watch. It's a shame to be in that middle ground of, well, you're not a cup contender, but you're also not good enough to be getting a high draft pick.
Well, the one thing I see here is that if the Bruins make the playoffs, Brad Marchand isn't traded, Claude Julien keeps his job. That's what I see. If they lose it, Marchand's gone because he had the best season overall as the Bruins, and they can get very good trade bait for him. And Claude will be fired, unfortunately. Even though it's kind of like they handed him, a lackluster defense, and he's trying his best at what he's got.
I don't think Marchand's gone. I think Claude's fired.
I think it's both if they miss it. But Claude's the best coach that the Bruins have ever had. Do you think that if they miss the playoffs by just 1 point, this is the last 3 games. It's been basically the last 10 games that have screwed them out of it. Maybe it's the players' fault. I mean, of course, you need to blame it on somebody.
Well, I think Claude's gone because he becomes the scapegoat. Look, I think the expectations for this team were so high entering the season, and the expectations for this team have been so high since they won the Cup in 2011. So to say, yes, Claude is the winningest coach in Bruins history, and yes, that does mean something. But this team, where they were projected to be and where they are not in the same stratosphere. If he came in and was coaching, a team that nobody thought was going to make the playoffs, and they missed the playoffs by 1 point, well, that's good. That's better than when you thought you were going to be. But he came into a team, coaching a team that should have been a cup contender, by all accounts, at the beginning of the season, and
at the beginning of the season, they were a cup contender. They've been a cup contender up until last month,
and they fell flat. So yes, I do think that it is a bit of scapegoating, but I also think that there is some blame to go around, and I think some heads do need to roll when you're expected to be a cup contender and you finish out of the playoffs.
Well, the way I look at this is the last 2 games of the season, the Bruins have a better matchup. They play the Senators, which they're 1-1-1 against, so that's a game you could flip a coin on. But they've played very good against the Red Wings, and they lost in overtime to the Red Wings, I believe. And then they beat them twice in regular time. So, I mean, they play very good against the Red Wings. They play competitively. I see them winning that game, but the one thing that I see more importantly is that the Bruins' schedule may be a little bit better, but the Red Wings have to play the Bruins and the Rangers. The Rangers are a very good team and a very tough team to beat right at playoff time. So I don't see the Red Wings having any easy schedule at all. And then the Flyers, which we can't leave them out of it because they're tied with the Bruins. So even if we win this game, if the Flyers lose out, we still have a chance to make the playoffs. The Bruins do. So, I mean, the Flyers play the Flyers. The Flyers play the Flyers. Oh, God. The Flyers play the Leafs. and the
I'm gonna let
Penguins
you finish.
and the Islanders. So the Islanders are a playoff team, a very good team. The Flyers have lost 3 games to the Penguins this year, and I don't.
Oh, the
the
Penguins have
Penguins
been
own them all the
disappointing, but-
time. The Penguins have always owned them. That's just how it goes. And the Maple Leafs, are the Maple Leafs. So
I
the
think
Flyers have a
yeah.
not a soft schedule to end the season, but have potential to lose the last 2 out of 3 games.
Well, that Leafs game I would chalk up as a win for the Flyers, and
I agree.
and I think that the Islanders game's going to be tough, and Pittsburgh can be a tough team. So we will see what happens in that regard. We'll see what happens for the rest of the Bruins
I
season.
agree.
Now on to topic number 3, the Celtics. Celtics are in the playoffs, not like the Bruins on the bubble. The
That is
Celtics are either going to face the Hornets or the Heat in the playoffs. Which do you think would be a better matchup for them?
I think, personally, that it doesn't matter. They're 2-0 against both these teams this season, but they still play them one more time this season at the end of the season. They play in the last 2 games. So they get the Hornets and then they get the Heat. So they'll be, scouting the teams that they could possibly play. And if you look at it, I have the matchups here. You have the Celtics, I think, would fare better against the Hornets, which would mean they need to get that 3 seed.
I would agree with you on that assessment. Look, I think that Nicholas Batum is going to be a difficult matchup for
I
anybody.
agree.
But the Celtics do have Jay Crowder to put on him and defend him. But I think as far as depth goes, the Heat are a deeper team. The Heat are probably a better team in the paint because they have Hassan Whiteside. And really, who are you going to put on Hassan Whiteside? You going to put Sullinger on him? That's not a good matchup size-wise.
That's an okay. I think the Heat
That's-
matchup is not terrible, but I think since they have all those
I think
veterans,
it's
Joe
great.
Johnson, they have Joe Johnson, Dragic, Wade, Stoudemire. I mean, he could always surprise people. But like you said, Hassan Whiteside, I think that the Heat could make some noise in the playoffs. They have that experience.
I just don't know who you're going to put on Whiteside in the paint size-wise. You're going to put on Sullinger on him?
You may put
you're
Amir
going to take
Johnson
Zeller
on
off
him.
the bench and put him on?
You may
Like,
put
what-
Amir Johnson on him.
What are you going to do? I think that's going to be a difficult matchup. I think having Chris Bosh, a power forward who can actually stretch the floor and can shoot from deep, I think.
But Bosch is injured. He's done for the season.
He's out for season? Oh, man.
He's gone.
I didn't know that. We should edit that part out then.
No, that's okay.
Uh.
Deng's starting at power forward for him. But they're 2-0 against both teams this season. They've played very well against them. I think either way, the Celtics win both these matchups. But it's the question of would they rather play the Raptors or the Cavaliers in the second round?
I mean, I think any team in that situation would take the Raptors. Look, the Cavaliers, granted. Why? Why are you shaking your head? They have LeBron
No,
James
I agree.
still.
I agree.
You
I
know
said
that.
I don't
he
think
still exists.
I agree. I don't think either. I think the first round matchup for the Celtics are good. Either one of them they'd win, but they haven't played well against the Raptors or the Cavaliers this season. So I think the second round would be where they fall out.
I mean, I don't think the Celtics are going to make a title run this year. It doesn't seem to be in the cards for them. They're a good team, but they're not a great team. They don't have any great players. They have a solid core of starters. They have a solid core of what are basically role players, but they don't have a star. The Celtics need a star. They need someone like, Kevin Durant maybe in the offseason to come and join and join up with that crew. They don't have someone who can take the ball and take over a game. Yes, Isaiah Thomas can lead the team in scoring, but they don't have someone who can truly take over the game
Isaiah
and score
Thomas-
from any spot on the floor and can really dictate the pace and the tempo of the game, and that's what they need.
Isaiah Thomas has been lighting it up the last 10 games of the season. He's really put these players on the team on his back, and he's been putting up 20 points a game and close to 25, I think. And I think he can do that in the playoffs. I think he's ready for that playoff mentality. But the issue is a lot of these teams have more than one of those players. You say we need that superstar player, we have it. But a lot of these teams,
Isaiah Thomas is not a superstar.
Isaiah Thomas is.
He's the best player on a good team, not a great team. There's a difference between being the best player on a great team and the best player on a good team.
The issue is that the Raptors have those two guys. DeRozan and,
Kyle Lowry.
forgot his name for a second. Then you also have, LeBron. They got that big three there. Then you have the Heat. They got, Wade and Dragic are superstars still.
Dragic is just not a superstar.
Last season he played pretty well. He's been down
Goran
a little
Dragic
bit this year.
he's one of those stars, and again, he's in the same stratosphere as Isaiah Thomas, albeit a little bit worse, of someone who is not a first-tier star, but maybe potentially a second-tier star. And look, the Celtics, when they won the championship in 2008, they had the big three. Now, I'm not saying you need 3 stars. 2 stars can win you a championship. if one player is great and another player is very, very good, and you have a lot of good, solid backups and bench guys, that can win you a championship. But they need someone beyond Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas looks better because he's the best player on that team. I think that it would really kind of put it into perspective how good he was if he was playing next to teammates that were better. They elevate him by not being that good. And I'm not saying the Celtics have crappy players. They have good players, but they're ultimately role players. They're not stars. They need 2 stars at least.
See, that's where I disagree with you. I think that this team, the Celtics, I mean, their starting lineup mixes it up every time. They don't have a constant lineup. But Crowder and Sellinger and Smart, and Thomas are their lead top players. And I think those 3 can perform in the playoffs.
We will see how that turns out come playoff time. The Celtics are in the playoffs. Now, for our 4th topic of the day, we are going to be talking about Thon Maker. He declared for the NBA draft, technically still in high school, and we are awaiting a judgment from Adam Silver in the NBA on whether or not he's going to be allowed to enter the draft. Do you think a player in high school should be able to declare for the NBA draft and enter the NBA?
I personally feel that, they should go to college. They should go to a college, get that experience with a coach and playing with team players who also want to go play for the NBA. A lot of these high school teams, of course, a lot of these players aren't good enough to go straight to the NBA, so they go to college and then they, learn under the great coaches that, coach these college teams. And I just personally feel, I'm not a big fan of one and dones either. I feel like these athletes should try and get a college education at least, understand how to, what everybody else has to do, go get a college degree, even if it is one of those easy ones since you have a sports, scholarship. But I'm starting to, understand the one and dones. I'm starting to become a fan of that. I want these young players in the NBA, but I personally feel straight out of high school, you're missing that experience, the NCAA tournament, if you go to one of those big schools. Or, playing under the great coaches, and playing under teammates that their ultimate goal isn't, go to a college, but get to the NBA.
Josh, I disagree. We've had this conversation, off air time and time again, and I completely disagree with where you're coming from. Why can you tell a guy who has the talent to make it in the NBA, no, you can't? Why do you have to tell a guy, oh, you have to go in college or you have to stay in college for X amount of years and basically play for free, risk getting injured when you have the talent and the ability to make it in the NBA and go and make NBA money? I think anybody should be allowed to do that if they have the ability to. You say a lot of these guys aren't good enough to make it in the NBA immediately at high school. Well, it's the system weeds itself out. Historically, players that have been drafted directly out of high school are players like LeBron James, like Kobe Bryant, like Dwight Howard. Really great, phenomenal players get drafted out of high school. Average guys don't get drafted out of high school. It's great, talented players. So to say that, they don't have the ability to make it in the NBA just out of high school.
I didn't say that.
disagree with
I think that
yes,
they should
you
learn
did
the
say that.
experience.
But the experience doesn't. You're training for a job that you already have the skills to get.
Listen, if somebody came and told me,
What do
hey,
you need to do
we're
extra?
going to pay you to go to college, get a degree, and take your
But
already
it's a fake degree, Josh.
get your already amazing talents to even more, skills.
You can improve in the NBA. You can improve by having a coach.
Not if you
in
get
the-
drafted number 1 overall by the Orlando Magic. You're stuck there playing for a team that's probably going to fire their coach at one point while you're there. You're not playing under any superstar.
You have teammates. You have teammates that have been in the league for a long time. You have assistant coaches. You have trainers. You have people. You have a support staff and people to help you in the NBA. I don't think going to college gives athletes any more experience, and I don't think there's any evidence, whether tangible or anecdotal, that a player who comes directly out of college is better than a player who comes directly out of high school, because some of the best players of all time have come directly out of high school, and some of the best players of all time have gone to college. There's really no difference. My point is, why are you not allowing this person to pursue that choice, to make that choice for themselves with their family and their coach and their teammate and their support staff? Why can't they go make that choice that I want to forego college and enter the NBA? Because you can always go back to college. You can put away some of your money from your massive rookie contract and go back to college and get a real education if the NBA doesn't work out.
Listen, if I'm going straight from, this is my personal opinion, if I go straight from high school to the NBA and get all this money, there's no shot I'm going back to college. I already have this money.
Well, you can't. Well, then, if you don't need the money, you don't need the
I
money.
guarantee you that's what everybody else's opinion is. If I go straight from high school, if I have that ability to play, and I play multiple years, if I go like Kobe, I guarantee you Kobe does not have a high school, a college degree.
Yeah,
he is
'cause he came
not
directly out of high
going
school.
back. He is not.
Well,
he got that 30
Kobe,
years.
Kobe's been playing for 20 years. He's
Yes.
made enough money.
And he
Now-
doesn't have to go back. But would it help him? Sure. He goes back, and let's say he does retire, and he sits around for 5 years, and he's like, all right, now I want to do something. I guarantee you he could get, some type of endorsement deal because he's an NBA player.
But he
what I'm
also
saying is,
has
what
the ability-
happens if he comes straight out of college and gets that rookie year? It's only 2 years that is guaranteed, and then you have the 2-year option. So it's a 4-year with a 2-year option. What happens if he gets injured and the team decides we're not going to pick up that second-year option? And let's say you do come out of high school, you don't go first round. Let's say you go second round, so your deal's not as large. You get injured, you can't play basketball ever again. Now you're crap.
But you can go back to college. That's the thing. You say, oh, nobody's going to do it.
But
well,
then you have
the
to
ability
pay to go to college.
You
Then
have NBA money that you can use to pay for it.
It's not gonna get them.
You get paid millions of dollars.
College,
I know how expensive college is. Believe me, I'm aware. But
Yes.
you get paid millions of dollars to be a professional athlete, and if you put some of that money away in a just-in-case fund, you can go back to college. And you know what? Yeah, most athletes probably, if they got injured, wouldn't go directly back to college. But it's the freedom, it's the choice, you can't sit here and tell someone you can't go work directly out of high school. I don't think that's fair to tell them they have to go to college.
It's okay.
So we agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah, we do agree.
Our fifth and final topic of the day we're going to discuss is the Golden State Warriors. Are the Golden State Warriors the team to beat in the West in the playoffs going forward?
Are they the team to beat? Of course. They're the best team in the league. Do I think that they're going to have the number 1 seed? Yes. Do I think that a team could beat them in the playoffs? Yes. And do I think that it's going to bring an overall more competitive pace to the playoffs? 100%. The one team that I think could beat the Spurs in a 7-game series, there it is. I just ruined it.
Ruined it.
Ruined it. That's okay. I think the Spurs could beat them in a 7-game series. And I think that the Thunder, on a good day, if they don't blow all those fourth quarter leads that they have this season, they could beat it. They could compete, maybe push the series to 7 and make an upset. Those are the two teams I think. The Spurs have 5 games left in the season, and the Warriors have 4. The Warriors play the Spurs and the Grizzlies. That's it. They play 2 teams back-to-back pretty much.
Do you think the Warriors can win out for the rest of the season
No.
and break that Bulls record?
No.
You don't think so?
Nope.
4 games left, you don't think they can win 4
Nope.
games?
They lost to the Timberwolves. They lost to the Celtics in the last 4 games. They're 2-2. I think maybe they're sitting there thinking maybe we should. The record might not be important. I think they tie it. I don't think maybe they tie it. I don't think they beat it just because they want to stay healthy for playoffs. They need a rest. They're playing the Spurs, a very competitive team, trying to fight for that first, overall seed. That is still possible, amazingly. I don't think the Spurs get the record. I think they lose twice to the Spurs.
You see, I think the X factor is the pursuit of the record. I think that, since they've been going so hard this season to try to win that many games and break the Bulls record, they might be tired, they might be worn down, and they've been pushing themselves so hard. And even if they say, this record doesn't matter, even if Steve Kerr and Steph Curry get up there and say this record doesn't matter, we're not trying for the record, we're just trying to win games and make the playoffs and win the finals, it matters to them, and it matters to them. So come playoff time, if you've had 0 time to rest your starters like NBA teams normally do after they clinch a playoff spot, it's a long 82-game season, and it's a hard, physical, tough game to play. So if you don't have time to rest your starters, yeah, that can hurt you going forward in the playoffs. But I think talent-wise, I don't see many teams that can match up with the Warriors. You mentioned the Spurs, and yes, the Spurs.
Well, I mentioned they could take them 7 games. The Spurs and the Thunder could take them 7 games and make it. And that 7th game, it's basically a one and done. Getting to Game 7 makes it a one and done series. It's a free for all, and the Warriors play very good at home, and the Spurs do too. The reason I don't think the Warriors beat the record is because they have to play the Spurs at home, and I'm rooting that the Spurs win at home. I want them to win out the season at home.
You're a hater, Josh.
Well, no, if they
You're a
win out the
hater.
season at home,
Wearing your Chicago Bulls red, you're a hater.
if they win out the season at home, it still gives the Warriors the chance to tie the record. Granted, I said I think the Spurs could beat them twice to end the season because I think they have more fight in them. But granted, if the Warriors are really trying for that record and they risk fatigue going into the playoffs, I think that could affect them in the playoffs.
I just think that the way that the Spurs and the Thunder are built are more, traditional basketball teams in the sense of they have strong forwards and they focus on rebounding and defense and stuff like that. But the way the Warriors are built is a team like we have never seen before. And teams, even after seeing them for 2 full years, still don't know how to adjust to this Warriors offense and shut down Steph Curry and shut down the jump shot. That's the thing about this Warriors team, is that they can beat you from anywhere on the floor. Steph Curry can basically hit half-court shots with regularity, and it's very, very hard to shut down a team like that, because normally with a jump shooting team, you can have an off night. I remember the Magic with Dwight Howard, as a notable exception as their center in the paint, but the Magic, when they reached the finals, they were a jump shooting team. But those Magic were very streaky, they were very inconsistent, and they would have games where they couldn't buy a bucket. These Warriors don't seem to have those games. They very rarely have games.
Timberwolves, Celtics. I mean,
It's
They've lost. I mean, 9 games so far.
But it's so rare.
So
for
there's
this
9
Warriors
games
team.
that it's happened, and granted, those 9
games in an 82-game
those
season.
9 games, they didn't
That's
shut
not a
them
lot.
down scoring wise. These are high-scoring games. Though the way to beat the Warriors isn't to play defense; it's to outshoot them.
But no, there's not a team in this league that can.
I
outshoot
agree.
them. There's not a team in this league
I
that can
agree.
outshoot the Warriors. So you have to be able to play
Well,
defense.
I mean, the Spurs have beaten the Warriors at home already this season, so they have the potential to do it.
Not in a 7-game series.
I said
Not
they
in a
could push
7-game
them 7
series.
games. I said they could
There's
push
not
them
a
7
team that can
games.
consistently outshoot the Warriors. The Warriors can score from anywhere. They can score high volume, and they
But can have
well,
off
and they can
nights.
keep the pace up. That's the thing. That's important about the Warriors, is that they're able to keep the pace going, and they're able to play high tempo basketball. And a lot of teams still don't have the equipment to handle that.
I still agree with you that they are the team to beat, though.
All right. Well, this has been the first installment of Extra Bases. My name is David Cusack. This is Josh Percy. Thank you so much for watching on Anchor TV.